It took a little bit for them to get the race going. They had a power outage that delayed the race like almost 2 hours. I was supposed to start at 7. I think they eventually ended up starting around like 9:15 or so. But we finally got the race in, and it was a solid race for the super late models down there at Waycross Motor Speedway in Georgia for the first night of the Spring Nationals. Before we get into this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. As you can see on your screen, Ethan Dotson came home the winner. Ryan Gustin was second, Donald McIntosh third, Pearson Williams fourth, Clay Harris fifth, Caleb Gay sixth, Brandon Overton seventh, Dalton Cook eighth, David McCoy ninth, and Peyton Freeman rounded out your top 10. You can see that Caleb Gay was your hard charger, moved up 7 spots. The racing was pretty solid. I thought it could have been a little bit better. We would get to these points where Dotson would get into the lap traffic, and Gustin and Brandon Overton were right there breathing down his neck, and then we would get a caution and it would reset the field. And then Dotson, Gustin, and Overton would race around, kind of following each other in a choo-choo train, and then they would get to the rear of the field and then caution. And it was just right when the like some big drama could happen, we would get these cautions. And it was unfortunate we didn't get to see them really kind of work through traffic as much as what I was hoping they would do. We did get to see Dawson do it for a little bit there at the beginning of the race, but definitely after we got past lap 30, there was no lap traffic for the cars to deal with, and that was a little bit unfortunate. But at lap 30, we did have a huge wreck. This was when they were kind of working through some of that lap traffic. You can see Dotson is right there on your screen. And that white number 44 car, that's who you want to pay attention to. He has an absolutely hard lick into the wall coming into turn 1. And Ryan Gustin is right behind him in second place. So close call for your leaders here. Let's take a look at what happens here. So I don't know what happens, but you can see his car kind of just, he's trying to turn it to make that left turn, and then it just cuts back right into the outside wall, and then bam, really hard lick there into the outside wall. Fortunately, I think he would be okay, but a really nasty lick for that driver. And then we would get going green again, stay green for quite a bit there. And I don't know what was going on here. I feel like, I mean, obviously they got into lap traffic with just 10 laps into the race, where that was lap 30 in a 40 lap race. But then they didn't really get into lap traffic until maybe like 12 laps to go. So I don't know if Dotson was really kind of trying to control the pace of the race, so he wouldn't get into that lap traffic and be threatened by that. So I don't know if he did a really good job of doing that, or a bunch of cars like exited the race and then they just didn't get to the end of the field as quick as what they did earlier in the race. I'm not really sure what happened there. I feel like it was Dotson managing, because I still feel like they had a bunch of cars in the race at the back of the field. So I think he did a really good job kind of managing the pace of the race so he wouldn't get to that lap traffic really quick. And that strategy, if it was his strategy, worked out for him, because we would get this caution. With Chad Tootin, he was running in the top 5. I think this was probably around like 14 laps to go. I know it says 12, but I think they got that. That's a little off right there from Flow Racing. But we didn't really get to see video of it, but you can just see him there. He did spin out, cause the caution, and then we would have a really big wreck in the next restart. You want to focus here on Clay Harris in this number 6 car. He is running in 4th at the time, and he gets kind of sideways coming out of turn 4, really jams up the pack, and then as they made their way onto the backstretch, we would get a huge wreck here. Let's take a look and see what happens. So Ethan Dotson leading them to the restart. Here they go. And then you can see already Harris is kind of sideways. They're stacking up 3-4 wide there behind him. Looks like things have kind of chilled out, but there still maybe is some wiggles there. Things are going well. And then all of a sudden, we get this big wreck here on the backstretch that would eventually bring out the red flag. You see they're already kind of closing down. We don't really get to see exactly what happened, but there will be a number of cars involved in it. You can see that one car there up in smoke. But we had Mark Fleischer was involved, Todd Cooney was involved, Royce Bray was involved, and Caden Mullenix were all involved in this wreck with about 13 laps to go right here. And they would obviously put the red flag out and have to clean up the wreck. And then once they got under green again, we had a really good challenge here by Brandon Overton on Ethan Dotson. Obviously, he's running in second here. He had kind of slipped by Ryan Gustin. Gustin made a little bit of a mistake early in the race, and Overton was able to get by him. And then it looks like Overton is the one who makes a mistake here. Let's take a look and see what happens. So something happens kind of right there. He like slips up. You can see Gustin really closes in on him. He loses a lot of time to Dotson. And then just a lap later, he's going back into turn 3 and 4 here, and his car just like shuts off. He loses power. And yeah, right there, you can see his car just kind of shuts off. And he would eventually come to a stop here in turns. Actually, I think he makes it around the track, but they would eventually throw the caution out. And the announcer would say that he tried to switch the MSD ignition box, and that caused the car to lose power. So he'd have to start at the rear of the field, but he would eventually rally for a 7th place finish. And the only one to really challenge Dotson here was Ryan Gustin, the Reaper, at the end of the race. I think he had an opportunity here to maybe like really drive it in, but he would have cleaned out Dotson and potentially cleaned out himself here. And he obviously chose not to do that. But let's take a look here as they go down the backstretch and kind of coming into turn 3 and 4. Gustin really does kind of drive it in right here. And I think he has an opportunity maybe to like drive it in a little bit more deeper there, but he just never was really able to kind of get to the inside of Dotson there. Dotson was able to hold him off and claim the victory. So that's kind of your race recap for the first night of Spring Nationals at Waycross Motor Speedway down there in Georgia. I thought the racing was pretty solid. Like I said, I really think that it could have been a lot more exciting if we had actually been able to like really get into that lap traffic without those cautions coming out. But it was like right when they were getting to lap traffic, we would see the cautions coming out, and really didn't get to see Dotson work through that lap traffic and see if Gustin or Overton had anything for him while he tried to work through lap traffic. I actually think that's why Overton was able to get around Gustin. Gustin tried to maybe do a little bit of a move on the outside to make a run on Dotson, and then it just didn't work, and Overton took advantage of it and went and snuck right underneath of him. But I think this is a pretty solid race. I'm looking forward to the rest of the Spring Nationals. Obviously, tomorrow night has already been rained out. That's unfortunate, but they will be racing at Sonoya on Saturday. So looking forward to that race. But let me know what you guys made of this first night for the Spring Nationals at Waycross Motor Speedway down there in Georgia. Let me know in the comments below.